is a presentation I've used at the academy, actually. So when we had guests come in, going through our 3-day program, usually part of that program, the golf program we had, was obviously playing better golf, but also a big part of this was nutrition, lifestyle. That's what Annika was always about, best player ever to play the game. That's what most everybody thinks anyways. And for her, the whole concept was obviously not just being fit and strong and fast and balanced and having a really good short game and putting and driving it long and all that. A big part of it was to be a whole person in terms of I don't miss anything that I can make better of myself. And nutrition was a big part of that. And for those athletes, professional athletes, we have to see they travel a lot. They're on the road 25 to 30 weeks a year. So traveling takes a lot of them. Just that alone will take a really good nutritional regimen to stay healthy, to stay alert, to be ready to go when you go in a different time zone, recuperation and all that. So just to travel alone is really hard. So, and obviously if you want to perform at the highest level, you need good nutrition. What we eat is what we're made of. What we eat is where we get our energy from. It's just that simple. So, so we want to go through. Obviously, those are some athletes that work with Shackley quite a bit. Actually, some of them were sponsored. How can nutrition and supplementation enhance our performance? So, provide essential foundation for cellular health. We all know our cells replenish itself in about 90 days, every 90 days or so. So basically what we eat today is what our body is made of 90 days from now. If we go to skin and bones, skin takes maybe a year, our hair, not mine necessarily, but also, our bones, everything gets renewed, and therefore we need good cellular health. Of course, what we eat today is what we're going to be in the future. And I think that's a very good thing to see, especially when somebody says, well, what's going to make a difference if I start eating organic today? I'm not going to feel it tomorrow. If I take some vitamins today, I'm not going to feel it tomorrow. Well, it takes a little bit of time. It's not a quick fix. It takes time. It took time to run the body down. It'll take a little bit of time to run the body back up. So so that's, I think, we have to explain to people so we don't expect the magic bullet. Be consistent, use the right stuff, and things will change in your body for the better. Meal replacement, that was very important for us, especially with all the traveling. You never know where you're going to be. You're going to be in a hotel, stuck somewhere. Hotel food is never the best food. It might taste good, but quality-wise, it's not what we need. So when you travel, there's a big void in terms of nutrition. What can you get? So there we would use a lot of meal replacement. Obviously, it's the shakes. It's the meal shakes, meal replacements. We use a lot of physique. So very critical right there. And also, obviously, a lot of vitamins, of course, with the travel and the immune system and everything. That's also very critical. Optimize hydration before, during, and after exercise. Not only important for athletes, for professional athletes, also for us. Even if we go for a good walk, if you go for a little jog, if we do some yard work, we need to hydrate. We need to make sure we have some carbohydrates so we don't lose our concentration and we can perform at our best. Maximize post-workout recovery. That's a big one, especially for us with pro athletes. Again, we train them in a way where we have to overload during pretty much every workout. So overload takes a toll on the muscles. That has to be repaired. Only through repair do we get stronger. So if we don't give the body rest to repair, which is your sleep, or if we don't give it the right nutrition, ideally at the right time, it cannot repair optimally, which means your workout might be wasted. Or if you do a lot of it without the support of rest and the right nutrition, you can actually do more damage than good. So I think it's very important that we know what we do after. And here it is, what you consume after workout is as important as the workout itself. What you put into your workout, you want to get 100% back. 100% return of investment, don't waste it. The way workout works is our body always wants to adapt to what we put at it. So if we sit on the couch all day long, it'll adapt to that. If we overload it in the right way, we don't want to overdo it, obviously, it's got to be sensitive. If we overload it in the right way, so basically, if we're right here and we do a little bit harder workout, our body wants to adapt. A little harder, it wants to adapt. And we want to take advantage of it, that adaptation phase. But for that, we need to break down muscle tissue. It's the only way to get stronger. It's basically creating some damage on the muscles through overload, heavier weights or more speed. That's what does it. Yep. And for that, we need to repair that. Only then will be able to, recuperate right and have a gain from it. All right, just some facts here, and I think we all know that food today is not what it used to be in 1910. About 10% of our food was processed. Today, about 80% of our food is processed. So that is an issue. The processing, a lot of nutrients get lost. The quality is just not there anymore. Our body doesn't get what we need. With some nutrition or some food, let's say, we get today, some of it might take more away than it gives us. If you take a white bread, for example, let's take a Wonder bread, wonder what's in it. So it takes away more from our body to process it than it gives us. And that can be a problem. So we want to put the cleanest in our body as we can. Obviously, we usually do it with our cars. We do it for our dogs, our pets. We ourselves, are lacking a little bit sometimes on that. So we want to put the best in that we can afford and that we can do. And I would say, it's always good for the long run, and it's always a good investment, even if it is a little bit more expensive. So nutrients are lost, chemical preservatives are added. We know that there is thousands of chemicals in the food supply today. The FDA is supposed to keep track of them and see how safe they are and everything. There's no chance for them to keep up with them. There's just too many of them out there, and daily there's new chemicals coming up that the manufacturers use. So it's very, very hard to trust it and to really know what's in it. Soils are depleted, they keep reusing the soils and so on. So only if you get organic, the soils are probably a bit better, still have the nutrients that the plants can live off and give to us then.
Right.
So facts, all the fats create free radicals which damage cells. We know that meats, poultry are injected with hormones and antibiotics. That has gotten a little bit better, I think, in the last few years. I think people are more aware of it. It's one leads to another. So it's not only how it affects our body, but how it affects the soil, where the chemicals go, where they stay. Animals eat it, we eat it. It goes into the plants. So it's a big bad circle, let's say, and we should all try to break that circle and eat the best we can, basically what we grow at home or what we can find organic. And again, with some good supplementation, we can make a big difference there. Early harvesting, transportation and storage of food reduces nutritional value. There is an estimate that the average fruit and vegetables transport about 1,500 miles until it gets to your table. So here's a question. Here in Florida, where I live, do I need oranges from California? Or does do the mangoes have to come from, I don't know, Chile or wherever it comes from, where we have mangoes here too. So I think a lot of times we should ask ourselves from an economical and ecological standpoint, but also from a nutritional value standpoint, do I need those things? Do I need strawberries in the middle of a winter up north? Yeah. Do I need to do I have to import stuff from Holland, whatever, salad, or whatever it is. So maybe we should be a little bit more aware of that too, and make a difference on different levels, not only on a nutritional level as well. State of health today. So 65 women don't consume a recommended amount of calcium. We all know calcium is a deficiency in many women, especially. 66% of Americans are overweight. I think we all know there's an issue, especially in this country. And as you know, I'm from Germany. I still go back 3-4 times a year, and I have to say it's still a little bit better over there. People walk more, people ride their bikes more, there's more cooking at home, but we're trying to catch up with America. So, even though we see more going on now and more awareness of it, where I live here in Orlando, it's now a new development here. It's almost like a town that's being built from ground up, and there's a lot of awareness about that, and the whole even the local government makes people aware of it. So I think there's a lot of movement like that going on to just be healthier and take care of your body more. But still, there's a lot of areas where that is neglected, and maybe out of don't know any better, or don't want to do any better, or I'm fine until something happens. So who knows what all the factors are. Yeah. Fast food meals supply half of cholesterol and fat or calories needed for an entire day. We all know the Big Mac, or whatever it is, whatever we fancy. And I'm not saying never eat a burger, but we all know if you go for a good meal, we have Five Guys burgers here. I don't know if you know Five Guys burger, where you're at.
No, I don't. What are you called?
Five Guys burger. I'm just taking that as an example. We're really, really good, Bob. They're really, really good.
They're really good. They
That's
taste
really
great, huh?
no doubt about it. And if I'm on a road trip, I'm not going to be afraid to eat a Five Guys burger. But the burger itself is like 1900 calories. And at a minimum, if you take a small one, if you take a regular size one, you get probably 2,500 calories. You add some fries and a drink to it, you're at 3,500, 4,000 calories. No problem. One meal. That's enough for 2 days for me. So anyways, it does taste good at the moment. What happens afterwards, you know, anyways. So do you eat nutritious breakfast? I think breakfast is where a lot of people are lacking the right nutrition. Either a lot of people don't like to eat breakfast. It's just, they're just not ready for it. They don't feel like it. I'm a good breakfast eater. I love breakfast. It's probably my most favorite meal of the day. But if somebody has an issue of eating breakfast and the right breakfast, that's again where supplementation can come in. Have a shake. And I have a shake every morning. I actually mix Physique and the Life Shake half, and put a banana in and a couple mango strips or something like that, some seeds, and here we go. So anyways, and about an hour later, I'll be ready for coffee and a good toast with some almond butter or something like that, and almond butter and honey, that's my thing. So anyways, but again, if you have an issue with eating breakfast, and breakfast is so important, of course, it starts your metabolism for the day. You've been fasting since dinner, so if you ate dinner at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night and you get up at 6, 7, 8, it might be 10 to 12 hours in between. Your body needs those 10 hours, 12 hours in between. A little bit of fasting overnight is good. You don't want your body, stomach to work all night long if you have a late meal. But to jumpstart your metabolism, breakfast is very important. So, and there we should have some protein. We should have 25 to 30 grams of protein for breakfast, which is easy to get with a shake, obviously. And there you can measure it too. Obviously, a couple eggs and a good whole grain toast or so, you can get there too. Or some really good cereals. There's some good cereals now. You can fortify a cereal and put some Physique in it. Tastes really, really good. You can make some good pancakes and use some soy protein, like maybe 1/3 or half of what should be flour. You can use some protein, soy protein. That works. So you can make a power pancake. Really, there's ways to get a good, satisfying meal and a pancake with some honey or syrup on it, where it's healthy. So there's always a way. So eating on the run, here again, our athletes, they travel so much. At the airport, you don't get good food. On the plane, you don't get good food. And on the golf course, you don't get good food. So take something with you. I always travel with a couple good bars. Also a handful of nuts. I have a bag of nuts and seeds. There's always something you can take along. Obviously, a banana is always a good idea, and some fruits. So don't get caught out running around and not have the right food. Of course, you'll probably end up at a bad place. So, we can prepare ourselves. A lot of times I take a shake. Again, I love a mix of Physique and the Life Shake and the soy protein shake. And I take it out in a shaker cup, just the powder, and I put some water in when I'm ready for it. So if I go out and travel and this and that, that's my go-to meal. That way I don't, stop at the next best bad place. So eat junk foods. We talked about that already. Skipping meals. That's another danger. I know a lot of people, they get going in the morning and they work and they're busy and there's phone calls and this and that. All of a sudden it's 3, 4 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I haven't eaten much. So that's something we want to be aware of too, especially if you want to gain in terms of, getting stronger, want to perform, but also if you want to lose weight. You don't want your body to starve during the day, because all it does is you teach your body to hold on to what you put in. It doesn't want to burn it. So you want to teach your body to burn. It's like a fire, basically. You put a little bit of wood on it constantly. So every 2 to 3 hours, you should eat something. And, within reason, of course, and the right stuff, some protein mixed with some carbohydrates. So if you do that throughout the day, you will never get the craving. You will never get that high and low, and you'll be consistent. You're not going to go into a trap where you're going to stop at the place where you shouldn't. Increase energy, reduce stress, improve health. 6 out of 10 leading causes of death are related to diet, including diabetes, cancer, heart attack. I think we all know that. Diabetes, obviously type 2 diabetes is mostly self-inflicted, let's say. Type 1 diabetes is a whole different story, I understand. Cancer, how much can we do with nutritional cancer? There's a lot of arguments out there, but we all know we can do quite a bit with it. What is the best? What can we claim? I'm not a scientist. I don't know it. But I know if I eat the right things, and we know with antioxidants, and there's lots of studies out there on certain nutrients, if it's fruits, vegetables, and so on, but also with some vitamins and supplements, we know we can help, and we can make sure we have healthy cells. We can make sure we support the immune system in order to fight cancer, or maybe keep cancer at bay, or just not get it. Heart attack, same thing. We all know, take care of our arteries, make sure we're not clogged, make sure we keep our blood pressure in check, and a lot of it has to do with nutrition. And I throw my own story in right quite quick. Bob, you know it very well. It's been 20 years actually now that I got my defibrillator, and my heart raced for 14 hours at 260. Oh. So when I went to a hospital, and they looked at me and they put me on the to measure everything, EKG and everything, and they found out what all was going on. They said it was an absolute miracle that I was still alive, that I was be able to survive that. And it's an electrical problem. I got some scarring on my heart from whatever, some infection I had maybe as a kid or something like that. But if my plumbing wouldn't have been 100% perfect, there's no way I would survive that. 14 hours at 260. So, and I attribute that to obviously being very fit at the time, but also to nutrition. And I never ate a lot of fat because that just didn't taste good to me. But I took care of myself quite well, and I think that's why I'm still alive today. So which supplements should we use? What to choose? We all know there's thousands, 100,000, millions out there. I don't know about. There's a lot of supplements out there. Right. When we started with Shaklee, I want to say it's probably 22 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of research because I was very, very skeptic about it, and we were searching. We were trying to do our research within our capabilities at the time. Internet wasn't all that rampant at the time, so we still had to read books actually. So we did find Shaklee, and we found somebody in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It was Bobby Brandenburg. I think a lot of people still know him, but yep. Bobby, natural bodybuilder and a great picture of health. And he met with us, and he explained everything to us, and we were taken by it and by the quality of it and the research behind it, and everybody would work to Shaklee, how nice everybody was, and how open they were, and that's when we decided to use Shaklee. And at that time, we didn't train super athletes at the moment at that time, but we ourselves were, at least we thought we were super athletes, so we acted like them, and it helped us quite a bit, and it was easy for us to share it. So we did our research, and I would suggest everybody do your research, see what's out there, and we know what works, Bob, you and I, and the people that are on this call know what works. Yep. So I think we're blessed to have a company like that that we can trust over so many years. Absolutely. Natural versus synthetic, I think that's a big difference. Going with natural, synthetic is not as effective, and sometimes even maybe has negative effects. Banned substances, very important for us with athletes that get tested. Annika got tested twice in the time I was with her for banned substances, and obviously everything was fine. But that's a big one. I would lose if I recommend Shaklee to my athletes and they would get tested and something would be wrong. I would be done in an industry that goes around like live fire, like a fire, wildfire. So that was very, very critical for me to have something that is ethical and that's for sure clean all the time. I never had any doubts with Shaklee. Clinical studies and patents, I think we all know how much Shaklee has put into this. I had to protect myself because a lot of athletes are getting bombarded by, all kinds of people and snake oils. So I had to protect myself in a way, if you use something else that I don't recommend, I can't be responsible. I don't know what else you're taking. And if something happens, I can't be responsible. So yes, I did that with all my athletes. So here are just some facts again, and I think most of your participants here know that, the studies they have done, the millions of dollars they have invested in research and development, and that's really what makes the difference with Shaklee versus most any company out there. What do we need to know? Role of protein. Protein is our muscle builder, as we talked about before. Carbohydrates is our fuel that makes us move. So a lot of times we run into people that want to do low carb. And that goes well for some time, but you will run out of steam at some point. So there has to be some carbohydrates. If not, if you have too much protein, most of it will get converted into carbohydrates anyways, and that's a very unhealthy process for our liver. And so we want to make sure we have enough carbohydrates, and we get to a ratio here in a little bit. The fluids is our cooling system. Recovery, we talked about that earlier already, with recovery after workout, and we get a little bit of more details here in a minute too. Essential foundation, building a good foundation where our body can build on, where our body can stay healthy and support our immune system and support what we want to do, which means gaining strength, gaining speed, gaining mass, whatever we're looking for. And let's see how we put it all together. Just that was one study that was done on the women's college basketball team, and deficiencies they had. So a lot of times, especially in college, I would say the food is probably not so good on campus. So a lot of deficiencies. So some recommendations here: choose nutrient-rich foods. So obviously, we should have a really good base as much as we can. It may not be always possible, again, when we travel, or not everything is available all the time, or something doesn't taste right. Obviously, that's when we want to make up with supplementation. But you see some of the things right here. Energy releases: B1, B2, niacin, biotin. Biotin is a big one. We know that. Whole grains, lean meats, and so on. Metabolic regulators, cell builders, body builders, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, our muscles to work in concert. Hydrators, and so on. Antioxidants, E, C, selenium, and a lot of those things are very critical right now, actually, again, for our immune system with what's going on with coronavirus. We know vitamin C makes a big difference. They've done some testing on that already. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and obviously, having a good vitamin regimen daily can really help with that.
Right.
Shake mixtures for energy and vitality recommended: 16 grams of protein, 25% grams of carbs, low glycemic index, lactose and gluten-free, no artificial flavors, colors, and sweeteners. That's all happening with Shakti shakes. So if you mix protein shake with soy protein milk, you can probably get quite high, almost too high. The ratio is off a little bit, and we'll get to that ratio in just a minute. So you can mix it, obviously. You can look at the labels. So who needs extra protein? Those beginning a new exercise program or increasing intensity of the workouts, calorie restricted athletes, endurance athletes, those engaged in physical training, weightlifters and bodybuilders. So I'm showing Darren Shapiro here is a guy I trained for many, many years. He started him when he was 14 years old, best wakeboarder ever. You see how he is built. He was built like that at 14 years age. He's a little bit of an anatomic freak, incredibly strong. He can do one-arm pull-ups on both sides easily. So for a guy like that, protein is very, very critical. And, if we look at athletes where we want to make sure we're at a perfect weight in order to compete, which means a perfect ratio, strength to weight ratio, it's very critical that we measure how much protein they get. We measure how much carbohydrates they get. We measure how much fat they get. And therefore, we can really dial them in at their perfect weight to strength ratio for their sport. And I think that's very good. Of course, if you do it with regular food, it's sometimes hard to see, okay, how much protein do we really have? Okay, if I eat a piece of chicken, it probably has 30 grams of protein, but it might be a little bit more. Whereas with shakes, we can say, okay, let's have 30 grams of protein this morning, and let's have 2.5 times as many carbohydrates. So we're at about 75 grams of carbohydrates. Now we have the right ratio, a 1-to-3 ratio, perfect to start the day. So that's the advantage of using shakes, where we can really dose it right. And even at night, we usually we keep track of what we eat throughout the day, so we can calculate the protein and the carbohydrates depending on the body weight and then the workload. And at night we say, okay, we're missing 20 grams of protein or 50 grams of carbohydrates to get to your 100% for the day. With a shake, we can dose that right and put it right. So how much protein? And I'm assuming now it's an active person. Active person meaning we go for a walk, we work out 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. We do some yard work, so we're not sedentary. So we take our body weights in pounds times 0.8 grams. So as you see, 200-pound person right here, 160 grams per day. And that should be spread out throughout the day. Our body can assimilate about 30 grams at a time. if we put more than 30 grams in, and it depends, you know, if you're a really big guy, bodybuilder, so we can probably handle more. For me, a little guy, I'm only 160 pounds. 30 grams is probably on the upper edge that I can handle at the same time. But rest gets converted into carbohydrates, and again, we don't want that. Of course, it's not a good process. So now we can say, okay, in the morning I have 30 grams, mid-morning I have a snack, maybe a meal bar, or maybe a handful of nuts. So that's probably 10 to 15 grams of protein. Lunch, I have, you know, piece of chicken and some pasta. Okay, here I have 30 grams of protein, and so on throughout the day. And again, with supplementation, with the bars, with the shakes, we can dose it right. We can figure it out where we need what and at what time.
Right.
So, and here's just some examples. Super high in protein. The burgers are super high in protein too. So good luck with that though. I haven't eaten meat for, it's almost, well, it's been 7 months now. And I was wondering how I'm going to handle it. And I have to say, I found a lot of really, really good substitutes for real meat, let's say. And I've gotten into a lot of pasta, bean pasta, lentil pasta, soy pasta, and things like that are very high in protein. So no problem getting protein. I eat a lot of nuts and seeds now too. No problem to get enough protein without meat. Meat is not needed unless you want it and it's good for you. I'm not going to hold you up. But I've been feeling really, really good with going all meat-free, and I just have the same energy, and everything is great on it. Breakfast, you want to start out with 30 grams if you can. Now that would be a good, you know, if you're active, and let's say after breakfast you have some, you know, you do some physical work, you work out, whatever. So if you have, you know, your breakfast at 7 and mid-morning snack 10 o'clock, I think that would be okay. Of course, a couple of hours later, you're going to have lunch, or you're going to have again 25 to 30 grams of protein. So it just depends when you use it. So here we come, carbohydrates. And again, carbohydrates have a bad rap. You know, there's a lot of low carb, no carb diets out there. I'm not a fan of it. It's not sustainable. It doesn't taste good. So, you know, it's not something we can do. We should do, at least not over a period of time. Carbohydrates are very important to give us energy. If we don't have energy, we don't want to move. If we don't move, we don't burn calories. So it's all, you know, one leads to another. So, and obviously, you know, for our athletes that depend on energy, that depend on mental clarity, which carbohydrates have a lot to do as well, especially with, you know, with all the minerals and everything. So, you know, we have a different energy system, blood glucose for the first 3 minutes of a workout, liver glycogen after that for 6 minutes, and then muscle glycogen is going to be used up after 90 minutes. So what we want to make sure of that every 90 minutes, we get some carbohydrates in so we can sustain the energy level. And for us, you know, around the golf would be around 4.5 hours. So we would make sure every other hole or so, which would be every 35 to 40 minutes, they would have some carbohydrates. And most of the time we used performance because it's easy to take along. We had a bottle already pre-mixed, but also she would take some powder with her and then just mix it in as needed in the bottle of water she's getting. So very important to keep our carbohydrates up. And obviously we want good carbohydrates. They shouldn't come from simple sugars or from, you know, a lot of candy and things like that. So we want the right carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, and with the right ingredients and the right ratios.
And for the people who aren't familiar with Annika, she was the winningest athlete of all time, dominated women's golf for 10 years.
She won 89 tournaments, which has not been done before for women. I think Jack Nicklaus has a couple more than that, but that's about it. But, you know, a lot of times people think, golfers, okay, it can't be that hard. I can tell you she was a true through and through athlete. For a woman, she did 16 pull-ups, no problem, clean pull-ups, which is a lot for a woman. We actually did pull-ups with 30 pounds on her waist just to make it harder. She would still do 8 pull-ups. She would squat 300 pounds. So, you know, golfers don't work hard. That doesn't exist anymore. Most of them are very, very fit now. And you see it with the guys too, Rory McIlroy, or you take Dustin Johnson or what. You know, those are true athletes now. So there's a lot going on. And she was athlete of the year in the US 2 times, and that was in front of the Williams sisters in tennis. So that tells you, you know, true athlete. So anyways, you know, she was a beast out there. She still is in a way. She just does other things now. So All right, how many carbohydrates? So here again, if you take your body weight in pounds times 2.5. So 200-pound person times 2.5, about 500 grams a day. So you see it's about a 1-to-3 ratio between protein and carbohydrates. So it's easy to figure now, times 0.8 for protein, times 2.5 for carbohydrates. So easy to figure how much protein, carbohydrates should I have throughout the day, again, assuming we're active. Now, if you would be outside in the heat, running a lot, working a lot, you might need to up your carbohydrates some. If you sweat a lot, if you lose a lot of carbohydrates and electrolytes. So there you might be able to up it a little bit, and that's where I would use performance. That's where I'd use something very clean to do it, not simple sugars. I think on performance, you could use quite a bit of it. It's the right ratio. It has the right ratio of electrolytes and everything. So you can't really overdo it. If you get into things like the common gas station electrolyte drinks, a lot of them, the ratios are off. They have energy boosters in there from who knows what. A lot of them have caffeine in it and so on. We want to stay away from that stuff. Use the right stuff. Use some fruits. Use some vegetables. Use the performance. And for performance, again, you can dose it right. You can say, okay, I'm going to take 100 grams. Okay, I know how many electrolytes I'm getting. And that's the best way to do it. It's easy to take along too, and it doesn't go bad in your bag. So fluids are cooling system, effects of dehydration. I think we all know that. 2% is already discomfort and performance loss. So that's quite stunning. How quick it can go. 4% fluid loss, below what you need, is already poor concentration weakness. And obviously, we don't want to get into increased heart rate or something like that. Of course, a lot of times that's something that stays with us for a long, long time. If you overheat it, for some people, what they say is once you're overheated, you will overheat more often after that, so you're more prone to it. So it's very, very important to hydrate, but we have to be careful. Not only water, because water doesn't permeate the cells very well. It does cool you down, but it doesn't give you the right nutrients. So that's why, again, we want to have some performance, or in order to help for electrolytes to permeate in our cells, and in order to be used as well. So, and this is something for our golfers too. Again, 4.5 hours out there, even in soccer or so, where you play an hour and a half, football and so on. A lot of times what we see in the golf, it's very evident. Of course, you see the last 3-4 holes, whereas there's been some shots that are just, where did that shot come from? What just happened to that brain fart, right?
Right.
So, and a lot of it has to do with running low on electrolytes. If you run low on electrolytes, what happens is the signaling from your brain through your nerves to your muscles to do a certain movement. And golf is a very intricate movement where 1 degree off makes a big difference. Once you run low on electrolytes, that electrolyte as a conductor is not there anymore, or is compromised. The information that your brain is giving to your muscles through your nerves is not getting there, or at least not 100% of it. And that's when you have those failures in coordination or speed and so on. So we see that quite a bit. It's not only being nervous, it's not only being scared of that last shot, or am I going to win or not. Yeah, a lot of it has to do with being low on electrolytes and fluids. So again, effects of dehydration, cramping, elevated heart rate, and so on. If we get into elevated heart rate, we need to stop immediately. Trackley performance offers proven endurance. There's a lot of tests that have been done. Placebo, water, and performance with using performance with electrolytes, a lot longer sustained time. They did a lot of tests. The Daedalus project is one of them. Bob, you can probably explain that one.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good one. So there has been a lot of tests have been made on what a difference it can make if you have a right electrolytes, and like mixture of carbohydrates as well. So maximum post-workout recovery. Here we go. We talked about it earlier already. We break down muscle tissue. We have to repair it, and there has been a lot of testing done and research done on build physique. Whereas if you take it within 20 minutes after workout, how much it can help repair and recuperate. So there've been a lot of studies, and I make sure I get mine within 20 minutes, and I make sure my athletes get it within 20 minutes after a workout. And then ideally 2 hours later, another serving of it. And that has been proven to be the best to repair and recover, so you're not as sore the next day and you can go at it again. So phases of muscle building with catabolic state, muscle tissue is broken down. During exercise, we overload the muscles, we break them down. Our body wants to adapt. It gives a signal, hey, I don't want to break down. I want to be as strong, to handle the overload. Let me get stronger. So repair is needed. We get into anabolic state. After workout, body shifts to the building phase. But for that, we need the right nutrition in order to build it. And for me as a trainer, I've always been walking a little bit on the edge with the athletes in a way of, I kind of need to beat them up in the gym and make sure they overload, make sure there's enough weight, there's enough eccentric loading, there's enough speed, go to, just below the threshold of what they can handle. But at the same time, I got to make sure they recuperate so they can perform the next day. So it's a fine line right there. And, it takes a lot of back and forth between the athlete and myself, me understanding how the body reacts and everything, because everybody recuperates different. But, we always want to keep the athlete just below the threshold of, max performance. And that's where we can sustain the performance and go through. If we bring it over the threshold, if I overtrain somebody and they fall off the other edge, they can be done for like a half a year, 6 months, 8 months or so. The season can be over. So it's very critical, to stay right there just below the threshold and keep them there. And for that, again, nutrition and recuperation through nutrition is very critical. That's a study that was done on physique, now build, recuperation rate, and also carbohydrates only versus protein only. The mixture, again, physique you see on top, 40.5 grams of protein and 112 grams of carbohydrates. So that's that about 2.5% ratio, 2.5 times the ratio. That's what has proven to be most efficient. So after workout recovery, maximum muscle recovery, muscle growth and repair, stimulate insulin response, that is done through that ratio. And whey protein has proven to be pretty much the best protein to do that. Optimal ratio of carbohydrate to protein, here it says 2.7 to 1, and that varies a little bit sometimes. I've seen 2.5% to 1, 2.5 to 1. So if you're in about that range, you're doing good. Free of artificial flavors, color, sweeteners, and preservatives. Again, get the cleanest you can get, which with a build and a physique, you will get that. When you overdo it, there's other products you can obviously use. We've all been there. There's always something that can help us, besides the hot bath and some Epsom salt. The Twin Muscle Pain Cream, I think, is really good. It works very well. That's something they have in their bags all the time, because there is some bruises, there is some soreness. That's just part of working out a lot. It just comes with it.
Yeah.
So every day, no matter what you're doing, basic vitamin program, calcium and magnesium, soy or whey protein shakes, before and during exercise, electrolyte replacement drink. Here's your performance again. After exercise, here's your build physique. So put yourself together a regimen. Try to put it together where you can use it throughout the day, the right ratios. Use it to find the right amounts for your body weight, for your workload. And obviously make sure you have a good base. Eat your vegetables, eat your fruits, eat your good carbohydrates, eat your good proteins. With a good base and the right supplementation, we will get to where we want to go.